Hi, I'm Louise. I'm a content manager at BuzzSumo, and today I'm going to be talking about creating content around low or zero volume keywords. So keywords can play an important role in your content strategy because they're indicative of demand. They show you what topics your audience is interested in every month, and in doing so, they can help you create content that gets found. But it's really important to remember that they're not the only way to create content. And people can get a bit obsessed with keyword data. I have done in the past. It's easy to do because there's safety in numbers. Those numbers reassure you that interest exists. Even if your content doesn't end up ranking especially well, you use those numbers as your kind of safety net, your sword and shield, to show your manager that you were justified in your content decision. But the main problem with keyword data is in its usage. People rely on it too heavily to create the majority of their content, and it can lead to content complacency. So here's a couple of problems with keyword data. It can sometimes be unreliable. This is a screenshot taken from Steve Toth's SEO notebook. If you compare the search volume you find in keyword tools with the keywords your website's already ranking for, you'll probably see some discrepancies. In this example, you can see search volume data from a tool called Keywords Everywhere, which is on the left. And then you can see search impression data on the right, which shows the number of people that have actually seen your website content in the search results. You can find this information on Google Search Console. In this example, the keywords are blurred out, but they are long tail keywords. That means they're long queries that get searched in Google, probably questions, and yeah, they can be anywhere from 6 to 20 words long. And as you can see, they've had thousands of impressions. But if you look in the search volume column, you wouldn't know this because it's mostly full of zeros. So for longer, more detailed keywords, sometimes search volume data isn't fully accurate. It's because we all phrase things differently when we search for longer queries. So it's harder to top that data up at scale. But it doesn't mean those keywords should be just disregarded in your content. Another problem with keyword data is that it can be a bit trend-averse. So this is an image of Google Keywords Planner that I've expertly applied a sepia tone to. And keyword tools like this average search volume data over the month. That means the data collection is a bit delayed. There's demand, peaks and troughs that are normalized, and new or trending keywords go undiscovered often until months later. Because of this, it doesn't reveal other good reasons for creating content. For example, my colleague Eleanor built a website for a family friend who appears as an expert on a British TV show called Antiques Roadshow. You might have heard of it. Eleanor knows whenever the woman she created the website for is on TV, because she gets an email from Google Search Console showing a 3,000% increase in visits to the website that weren't predicted, obviously, by keyword data. But if your marketing team are working towards building a TV, a video, a radio campaign, or out of home, you should be considering what searches their campaigns might provoke, because you won't see this in keyword tools. Another thing about keyword data, or high volume keyword data, is it can lead to the same content again and again and again. If we're all obsessed with the same keyword metrics and we're using the same tools as our competitors, we're probably also going to be creating the same content. This is a search for the popular term content strategy, which gets searched about 7,000 times a month. And as you can see, the search results all show really similar headlines: how to develop a content strategy, or developing a content strategy. You might spend all your time trying to beat the competition, and you might not be succeeding with these high volume terms. And also, keyword data isn't always future-proof. Shorter keywords can be pretty vague. There's not enough information included in the query for Google to know what the user is looking for. And if you're trying to target a keyword with vague intent, your content is likely to be kind of vague too. Google isn't a fan of vague. This, combined with intense competition from everyone else that's targeting that same popular keyword, means your content might not stick around on page one for too long. On the other hand, long tail, lower volume keywords are more specific and more detailed, and they give you a better opportunity to create relevant content that will satisfy searchers and therefore help you stay on page one for the duration. You can see in the two examples that we found on Ahrefs that plays out in that way. The longer queries on the left shows steady website performance on page one, whereas the shorter ones, more competitive keywords, for example, lead to constantly fluxing website rankings. And yeah, as we know, using keyword data is a savvy strategy, but it's not the only way to create content. It's important to create a mix of content for your audience. Search volume data can be generalized, but there will be low volume topics that are more relevant to your business and to your audience. So while you do need to cover these big overarching high volume keyword topics, you should mix it up by answering more granular questions. And often these questions and these more specific topics can lead to increased audience engagement and action. So how do you find the right low volume keywords? It is true, many low volume keywords don't generate much interest. That is why they're low volume. But as we've seen, some can and some do. So how do you make the distinction between the two? And how do you find the right low volume keywords that will lead you to create content that engages and converts your audience? I would suggest starting off your low volume keyword research with high intense terms. The key here is to focus on mid to bottom of the funnel, low volume queries. The audience searching these keywords will already have an awareness of your brand and they'll be more likely to convert. This will help you justify your low volume content creation because in reality, it is a riskier strategy. You want to be even more assured that your content will do the job. When you monitor your brand, you'll find those kinds of keywords. People are mentioning your brand and searching for it, so they're more likely to have a navigational, commercial, or transactional intent. So remember to start with these queries when you're doing your research. All of the following examples I'm going to show you can help you find low volume brand specific keywords, but they're also great for general low volume keyword research. So audiences are constantly looking for answers to questions on forums like Reddit and Quora. And at BuzzSumo, we use our tool called the Question Analyzer to search through hundreds of thousands of those forums for queries around our products and our brand. Often answering these kinds of questions in our content can lead to real conversions because these audiences are already curious about our brand. But even when the search isn't brand related, you can get more nuanced content ideas from the discussions that are happening around certain topics that are relevant to your business. Another thing you can do is go to Google Search Console to find more granular content ideas. You can find out what your audiences are already searching to find your website and its content. You can see if you're ranking for a low volume keyword like a question, and if you are, you can check whether it has big impressions. If it does, but you're not getting a lot of clicks, you can try optimizing that content even further around that low volume keyword, or you can create an entirely new piece of content around it to make the most of those impressions. And here's an advanced Google Search Console tip. You can use regular expressions to find specific brand questions. So you can add a filter with specific question keywords, and then you'll be able to search through all of the low volume keywords in your Google Search Console database to see the questions that people are answering in relation to your brand. Another thing you can do is tap into your customer data and your owned data. You can do interviews with the customer and sales teams to find repeating patterns. And you can use even search bar data, whether you've got a knowledge base or just a search bar on your website, and take all of this customer information to help you create specific high intent content around the low volume keywords that you spot repeating in this data. You can also turn to communities. If you have ownership over a community, I am jealous of all the data you have at your fingertips. This is low volume keyword idea gold. And even if you're not an owner and you can't scale your analysis of customer questions, Being part of a community is still amazing for content ideas. Finding discussions that are snowballing can be great for low volume keywords. And if your community is closely related to your brand, you might even be able to explore the sentiment around your brand or even uncover new use cases and new low volume keywords. You can also spot bottlenecks and use that information to fuel your low volume content. So you can work with product and discover customer problems via usability testing, behavior, and product analytics tools like Hotjar or Mixpanel. And then when you have this insight, you can use it to inform the creation of low volume content that answers specific questions that you know that your customers need answering. Another thing you can do is find mentions of your brand, competitors, and products for low volume keyword ideas. So in this example, we've used BuzzSumo's content analyzer, we've typed in our brand name, and we've excluded our own website to find out what other people are saying about us in their headlines and their content. And this can inform ideas that you might not necessarily come across with high volume keyword data. And you can also set up alerts for mentions of your brand, competitor, and products. So setting up alerts can help you spot developing themes that your audience are interested in, but more than that, it can help you build low volume keyword research into your daily workflow. Tom Bangay from Duro and the Content UK community made a really good point that low volume keywords can take just as much time to discover as high volume ones. So reducing that research time is crucial to make sure that the effort you put in matches the results. And automating that research is a great way to do that. So if you're focusing on high intent keywords, it's especially valuable. Setting up alerts can also show you what your audience is saying around your brand through user-generated content and reviews. And all of this insight can give you keyword ideas that might not necessarily get big volume, but is still hyper relevant to your audience. If you take this alert as an example, we set this up in BuzzSumo's monitoring and alerts tool, and it's tracking mentions of the words PR and monitoring published in content across the web in relation to our brand name, BuzzSumo. And this is an example of the mentions that our tool brought back in review sites, tool guides, case studies, and so on. We scan this content to see what's being said about our brand in relation to the topic of PR monitoring, and we often find great low volume keyword ideas as a result. You can also get a bunch of keyword ideas from Google without ever having to leave the first page. So that includes things like auto-suggest, people also ask, and related searches. And their presence indicates that these questions have been asked a lot. Often this information is populated in near real time, so you can get really good trending content ideas as well. Another great way to find low volume keyword ideas is by paying close attention to the chapters of the top ranking video content on Google. And this will also show you more detailed subtopics that can make for great low volume keyword content. Here's just an advanced tip. You can try keyword stretching for more long tail, low volume keyword ideas. So to do this, you can just add an asterisk between short keywords in Google search bar, or you can even just put your mouse between the 2 or 3 keywords. And this gives you queries that won't show up in keyword tools because they're not considered to be searched enough, but they're still really valuable content ideas, especially if they're the type of keywords that can lead to a conversion. You should also have a look out for low volume cluster keywords. Cluster keywords are basically a bunch of low volume keywords that say roughly the same thing. As we know, zero volume keywords often generate a lot more interest than search data would have us think. So if you're clever, you can create a single piece of content that successfully targets a bunch of these low volume keywords. And that will add up to a lot of search traffic. So basically, don't always focus on keyword numbers. Focus on the number of keywords. You can also use social media engagement as an indicator of interest. So while shares don't directly correlate with rankings, the awareness they generate can lead to traffic. So if you know a topic is gaining momentum on social, you don't really have to check its search volume data to validate that idea. At BuzzSumo, our customers use low volume content ideas from the most shared content around their topic. They can analyze headlines based on engagement across Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Reddit. And by engagement, we mean things like likes, comments, shares, pins, upvotes, and Facebook reactions. And this data tells them whether certain angles and topics are going to resonate with their audience. You can also focus on the evergreenness of a topic. So instead of hyper-focusing on search volume data, you can see whether a topic is in high demand by looking at the evergreen score. This is a proprietary score that we've built into our platform, and you can see it here in the content ideas generator. And this basically represents how many shares and links a piece of content has driven over time. So the higher the score, the more likely the content is to keep being found and engaged with. In this example, this piece of content focuses on the topic of scaling content production. But a quick search for this in our keyword tool shows that there is no search volume. But as you can see, it's generated an impressive evergreen score of 22. So to put that into context, the average evergreen score in digital marketing is just 3. So this is a low volume keyword idea that has potential to generate big demand. You can also get low volume keyword ideas from content that's trending. So whatever's trending in a certain topic or industry can give you brand new ideas that can generate big interest, even if they don't yet have big search volume. This is BuzzSumo's trending tool, and you can pick a category to see the most viral content in the last 24 hours, or you can set up your own categories. And you can look at the subheadings of top ranking content. I've just highlighted one there that I think would make for a good low volume keyword idea. So content strategy for sales enablement. So that's getting a bit more niche and granular with the topic of content strategy. And you can monitor what influential people in your industry are talking about. So hearing it from the horse's mouth is often the best way to get new or otherwise low volume keyword ideas. In BuzzSumo, you can do something called a shared by search, which lets you see which content a select group of Twitter users is sharing. And this is ordered by engagement, so you can get keyword and topic ideas from the top content. You can also head to tools like Brand Watch Audiences to find out more about the topics being discussed by your audience, or you can keep an eye on your Twitter and make lists of people like customers and influencers that you want to keep tabs on. And it's also a good practice to look at comments, polls, and hashtags, and any space that's relevant to your audience that can give you ideas for low volume keyword ideas. So how do you monitor the performance of zero volume keywords? Well, if you've set up a Google ad around your low volume keyword, you'll be given details of how many people have seen that ad over the course of a week. So to get a search volume equivalent stat, all you'd need to do theoretically is multiply that by 4 for a month's worth of data. This will help you work out whether the time you've invested into your low volume keywords was efficient and worth scaling. And as we saw earlier, you can look at your Google Search Console data to justify the time that you dedicate to creating content around low volume keywords. And if you've coined your own low volume keyword and you want to analyze its uptake, you can set up keyword alerts to monitor mentions across the web, or you could check social media engagement to see whether your audience is interacting with your low volume content. And lastly, you can keep an eye on how evergreen your low volume topic ideas are and feed this back, all of this data back into future content creation. So while it's likely that your content will rank for your low volume keywords, you'll probably need to give it a bit of extra help in terms of promotion. And I really love this quote on the right by Andy Christina, which says, every piece of content should be created with a promotion plan. And Amanda Milligan from Stacker, formerly Fractal, has this kind of methodology as well, where she will only create content if she knows it's going to rank or be linked to. But I think it's really important when it comes to low volume keyword ideas that you think about how this content is going to get out there, because it's going to need an extra hand. So you might want to focus on creating link-worthy content, based on some recent research carried out by Foundation, original research, guides, definitions, stat roundups, examples and inspiration, and tool guides are the types of content that tend to generate the most links. And you might want to check engagement trends, whether that's seasonal or otherwise, to inform when you should create and publish your content to help it out and give it an extra push. And you can also get ideas from the most shared content, like, for example, where that popular content was shared and what social platforms to give it the biggest boost. I hope that's given you some good ideas and food for thought when it comes to creating low volume keyword content. And thanks for listening and watching. Have a great evening.